That is so
There's
nasty.
some sounds you can't make. Try and say
Yeah.
penis. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Mine just sounds like I'm drowning.
You're muffled.
Literally, you just gotta open up a little hole in your lips so that
Try to
way.
keep it fully sealed.
You're you're gonna be like a what are those people called that have the puppets?
Ventriloquist?
Ventriloquists? Yeah.
Is that what the person is called that's operating the puppet? A ventriloquist?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the puppet was the ventriloquist. I'm kidding.
All
Relax.
along.
I have a hand up my ass. I'm not real.
Dude, that would be like an expert level ventriloquism. You have like a puppet on the hand of another puppet that's like controlling it. That would be
And then
sick.
You have
mimic
the-
the mouth movements of the puppet
Yeah.
to.
with the other one.
And you control the movements of the smaller puppet with another fucking like the cross string shit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. You control it with your foot. Like,
Dude, the people who use like puppets with their fucking like their fingers and shit, it's so much dexterity in that hand. I bet they've never not pleasured a pussy.
They're great at fingering. Trust
Like
me.
I 100% guarantee.
they've got a 10 in fingering. Probably.
Who's the puppet guy? Jeff Dunham.
Yeah, the puppet guy.
I mean, like, could you really come looking at Jeff Dunham though?
Dude, Jeff Dunham watches the podcast.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
Jeff.
he's a well-known fan.
We're close friends with Jeff, anyways. It's fine.
We could rib him. We can razz
We'll
him.
rag
Oh my
him a
God.
little bit.
He's our
Welcome
guy.
to the podcast, Jeff Dunham. This
Shout
is
out,
the
Jeff.
Null Thought podcast.
I'm Anthony.
I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
I'm sane.
Yeah, that's right. All right, it was Christmas time recently.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Yeah.
Well, is it still considered Christmas time?
No.
Days
No.
after?
Fuck no.
Christmas. It's over.
Yeah, I went
The
into
war on Christmas has begun.
Oh
I went
my
into
God.
CVS like yesterday to grab some fucking Mentos. They already have like Valentine's shit out.
Oh, God.
It's so fucking gross. It's like as soon as Thanksgiving is over, Christmas time. As soon as Christmas is done, it's like let's stock Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Like what? Fuck, dude.
It's-
Give me a break.
It's the pipeline. Like it's like back to school is like the next thing. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
it's Halloween. and
They
then
find
it's
a way to
Thanksgiving.
market every fucking month of the year.
Because
It's
it's
so
profitable.
annoying. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts with the back to school, then it goes to Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or
Easter
just
shit. And
You're forgetting Labor Day.
Valentine's Day, Easter.
Wait, when is Labor Day?
I have no
We're
fucking
forgetting
like,
about Arbor Day.
Arbor
Day. Celebrate the
Come in
trees.
for the Chevy Arbor Day sale. What is Arbor Day?
Come get a
even?
Nissan Altima.
I have no idea what Arbor Day is.
I feel like
It's a day to celebrate trees, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
trees.
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. Well, actually,
Wait,
let me
trees or treason?
trees.
Trees.
I'm gonna look this up. I kind of want to know what Arbor Day actually
okay.
is. I'm pretty sure it's about trees. Arbor Day.
I mean, it'd be weird if you celebrate treason.
Yeah, it's the day to kill the king.
Yo, that would be cool.
It's Arbor Day, New King Day, bro. It's just
Arbor
the
Day.
elections.
In 2022 will be on April 29th. Arbor Day,
Shout
which
out
literally
Arbor Day.
translates to tree day from the Latin origin of the word arbor, is a holiday that celebrates the planting, upkeep, and preservation of trees.
Then what is Earth Day?
I don't know. Like what? I guess it's a specific. It's like we should have a water day too. Then you know.
Yeah.
Or like
How many element days do we need?
There's like
what's
a-
fire day?
We should have a day to celebrate fire.
It's
Without
Fire Day.
fire,
2022.
where would we be today? Without fire, where would we be?
Fire day.
We would be in the fucking trees.
Yeah, what if
Fire
like cavemen
prevention.
discovered electricity first? Like what would happen
We
then?
discovered electricity before fire.
Yeah, like what if?
Honestly, we might have. Somebody probably got struck by lightning.
Oh yeah, true. Nobody just figured out how to harness that
Yeah,
shit.
no.
That bit.
That is different.
Well, lightning was like gods back in the day.
yeah, true.
It was like the
Yeah.
god of storms. Well, Zeus, straight
Yeah.
up.
I mean, like what would cavemen create like a pseudo religion around these gods? Do you think? With
I
their
mean,
little
look at
cave-
ancient
Isn't
Greece.
that
They
what
already
they did?
did.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, granted, they're not cave people, but
Yeah. There were probably
they-
like religions, because like the thing is with religion is that it begins as like an oral tradition. You know what I mean? In a lot of, or like historically all cultures, it's just like some of them like the Greek shit, and then Abrahamic religions, those all got fucking
Written down.
written down. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably just word of mouth. I saw fucking a god on this mountain.
Literally the longest game of fucking telephone.
Yeah,
honestly.
essentially. And then someone decided to write it down, and they're like, "This thing is fucking nuts, bro."
The biblically accurate angels just gets more fucked up as
Yeah, they
it
were.
keeps getting passed down by mouth.
It was a rock that was just different colored from the other ones, but now it's a bunch of rotating cubes with eyeballs and wings. And they're like, "Yeah, that makes sense."
I think it must have just been a really strong acid trip. I think that's the only fucking.
Well, that's the Stoned Ape Theory,
explanation.
right?
Yeah,
This Stoned Ape Theory, I
yeah,
love
that's
that.
what they call it.
I mean, it's one of those things that's such a stoner propaganda type deal,
Yeah.
but it has a lot of merit to it, I think.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
As stoners, this has a lot of merit.
Yeah. We're putting way too much stock in the stoner.
Yeah, I
culture.
mean, speaking right now, I have no idea whether or not there is actually any provable fact to it at all. But
Yeah.
it's just funny to think about because they definitely stumbled upon like some mushrooms in the
Yeah, for
woods, and
sure.
they're
Oh,
like, "Bro, we
without a
gotta
doubt.
I know
eat
that
these
it
things."
happens in nature with like fucking jaguars in the jungle and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They'll
then you
eat
always have the
DMT.
non-believers like, yo, Jacob literally died eating a mushroom like that before.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah, I mean, think about all the poisonous shit we have now today, and it's
Yeah, true. We had to have because of like the way that people test shit. We
Yeah.
had to have stumbled on some fucking crazy.
you can't bring it into a microscope lab
Yeah.
and be like, "Yeah, this red berry is super toxic. Don't eat it."
You bring the runt to the village over, it's like, eat it.
Yeah, the village elder went outside one day.
Force them to eat it.
we gotta sacrifice to the berry god,
The designated
god.
mushroom eater. God,
The
That would be
village mushroom
worst,
guy.
That would be the worst job in the village. Actually,
Oh, well,
no.
as long
Cleaning
as-
the
shaman,
shit.
bro.
Cleaning. Yeah, true. That is the shaman.
Here's the thing. I feel like if you were to ever be put in that position, you should get paid like hazard pay. You live in like the biggest house in the village. You get to eat all the good food because you're testing that dangerous fucking berry.
Yeah,
It's
you
like,
get,
okay.
you get 3 slices of bread.
Yeah.
Shamans
instead
were
of
like
one.
they were like forest people. Like they lived their life in huts, just fucking
yeah.
doing drugs and like hitting bowls with fucking.
All
metal
shamans were probably
chalices.
just depressed. They wanted to die, but everything they kept finding kept bringing them to new enlightenment on the truth of the
Like,
world.
shit, I'm kind of tired of living, but those shrooms made me see another fucking dimension.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
They're doing like keto treatments.
Dude, I couldn't imagine being alive in those times.
I'd
Well, yeah,
probably
that's-
kill myself. Like,
Well, it's
even if
ignorance,
anything,
bro.
by accident, I would just
Yeah.
kill myself.
Yeah, I mean, the average lifespan was probably like 30 years old.
Yeah.
You'd be lucky to get
Well,
to 50.
That's just because, like, well, like a lot of people back then, they lived to be like 80 and shit. It's just that so many people died at childbirth that it brought the average super down.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You get a fever at 35 and
Yeah.
you're on life support.
One guy sneezes and they're like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, I mean,
we're all
Stay the
dead.
fuck away from me.
No,
get
we're all dead.
banished.
Doesn't matter.
yeah, someone's having you're like, I seem to have come down with a sore throat, and they burn them alive.
Yeah, everyone else in the hut.
witch.
Yeah.
Dude, like, fucking in medieval times, they used to like throw shit out the window and
Oh,
just let
yeah.
it sit in the streets.
Oh
It's
my
It was
like,
God.
great.
what the
Literally out
fuck?
like second floor
Yeah.
windows onto like the sidewalks.
It's
and
like,
shit.
yeah, I could not imagine if I was walking down a street and somebody poured a bucket of feces on me. I think I would end it on the spot.
I think I would end them.
I would go,
first.
I'm
yeah,
about to eat some berries.
yeah. I'm about to go into a Roblox lobby and jump off the tallest building.
That like if shit were to ever be poured on me, that's when I go ape shit.
Yeah.
Like I was.
Be like, this fucking society.
I got super pissed off when like a fucking chicken wing landed on my laptop during lunch. That pissed me off. If I got literal shit dumped on me, you don't want to
Yeah.
be around. Like I might know you just like I'm blind with rage. Don't
Yeah.
even come near me.
You like knock everyone out that's around you.
Covered in shit. Like boxing people in the street.
That's you have like buffs. You have like poison buffs on your fists and shit.
I got like purple bubbles coming up from me. Like I'm
You see
poisoned.
someone on the street, you lock onto them.
I start rolling
Oh
around. them.
Something you got to think about too is like in those times, your problems were much bigger. Like you got to appease God
Yeah.
every day of your life, or else you're gonna get struck in with a sickness.
Like a
I don't know if
fucking
that's
locust
true.
comes in your
yeah, the
earlobe.
locust swarm.
I feel like if anything, the problems like they weren't as complex, but they were harder to solve. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's easy to say like, you know, don't kill witches or don't kill someone because you think they're a witch off some dumb shit. But it's like at the same time, people are just fucking stupid in those days, and they'll just do whatever the fuck they want.
It's a quest for objective morality.
Yeah, especially in a world where like they have like no bearing on like philosophy or anything, like because it's just everything's new. They're all babies in the grand scheme of humans, you know.
I mean, the whole development of like science itself is to develop like objective truths about the world.
Yeah, true.
Like, have you guys heard about the James Webb Telescope that's launched recently?
Oh yeah, no, I'm so excited for that shit. It's gonna be so neat.
I want pretty pictures.
I want pretty pictures. It's already at the fucking moon right now.
Holy shit!
I know, it's crazy.
Where's it headed? Like,
there's something called L2. It's I forget the L is short for something, but it's a
left trigger.
Yeah, left trigger orbit.
Okay, all right.
It's L2. We already sent a telescope to RB, RT, and left thumbstick.
Yeah, you had to do a frame perfect input, or else it won't deploy properly. The James Webb Telescope is heading into Ligma orbit.
Is speed running to Ligma orbit?
Yeah, dude. The Russians are using fucking task bots. We don't stand a chance.
That's fucked.
Dude, they're doing frame perfect movements right now, and we're using a fucking Xbox controller.
Yeah, we're using a TV with all the input lag. Fuck.
The physics behind the actual orbit position are really interesting because Hubble stays in like geostationary orbit, which means that it hovers around Earth like at a perfect altitude that doesn't change elevation.
It's still falling, but it's just going past
it's like,
as it falls.
Yeah.
It's neat.
It's keeping it in orbit, geostationary orbit, literally.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The L2 orbit it's really weird. I didn't even know this existed until I was looking at like the technology of the James Webb Telescope, but there's several point specific, or I guess point accurate positions in our orbit, like around the sun, that keep one thing in the space as Earth turns and everything. It's kind of hard to explain. I'd probably have to visualize it or something, but
fair enough.
Basically it doesn't move at all in the orbit of the Earth around the sun. So it keeps the heat shield, or it keeps itself behind the Earth.
So it doesn't have to worry about the heat coming from the sun?
Yeah, so it tries to minimize as much heat coming from the sun as possible by putting itself in front of the Earth, and it stays in that position around the entire trip of the sun. And there's a lot of points around the Earth, including like the moon's orbit, that does the same kind of positioning.
Hold up, go back. I'm confused. What the fuck do you mean by the it would stay out of the isn't the Earth the center?
What do you mean?
Isn't like the Earth the center of the universe?
Oh,
he's kind of right about that.
Yeah, but if you think about it in terms of not a fucking plebeian.
Ooh, you ever hear of Galileo, bitch?
Who?
So who Galileo?
We were talking about medieval times so much, he actually went back there.
Yeah. Oh shit! I opened a gateway through the stoner dimension. This is Stoned Ape Theory.
Truly. I don't know much about the actual physics behind it besides just the cool facts, so I'm not a good person to explain it. But definitely go look it up. Yeah. Like, that shit is crazy.
Shout out NASA.
And all the technology used in the camera and like the cooling technology, because the mirrors and the camera itself have to stay at like 7 Kelvin or some shit, which is insane.
After I'm done with my education, I'm definitely gonna like jokingly send an application to NASA.
It's just a meme, so if I don't get it, then it's not that big.
I mean, it's like trying to like apply to an Ivy League school. It's like, I'm gonna send an application.
I mean,
if
NASA
you get back, you're like, whoa.
They have a lot of interns. Yeah.
Do they?
They do a lot of internships, and they hire from a lot of different backgrounds too, like in terms of like education.
Only after I get my PhD in physics, which will probably never happen.
Do you want to go for a PhD? Or
Yeah,
you're just
I'm 100% planning on going back after I graduate.
Yeah,
as like a part-time
right
student.
after, or are you gonna?
Yeah, right after.
So you're gonna get a job and then
I'm gonna get a job and then do a part-time student thing, which means it'll take longer, but I get to work at my own pace.
Yeah.
At that point, I already have a degree. I don't need to like rush for a college degree or some shit.
And like you'll make good money with your degree that you have currently. So it's like you might as well, and then you could chop down some of those student loans, fucking whatever.
Yeah, and then doing classes like maybe 1 or 2 a semester, I think is like the best pace possible.
Yeah,
honestly, yeah.
Although I think with master's programs, they have like certain requirements. Like you have to. I could be wrong because like I think if you don't have a job, you have to work like 20 hours or something, either in research or like some other student.
Yeah, you can like
that.
for that you can like work at like a research lab or something. You can also. I don't know if it's in all of them, but for some of them, I know you can work as like a professor and then
that'd be cool.
Doing like papers like that and stuff.
Oh, speaking of like all the science bullshit, all that malarkey. I was thinking about this the other day.
All that fake shit.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day. So like companies who have like a new technology or they're working on something that's a little bit more groundbreaking, like phone companies or something like Microsoft, who's making a new technology, like fucking Cortana or something, or Siri with iPhone and Apple. The companies take the credit for whatever invention that they made because they're the ones paying the employees to do that. And it's like, that's kind of fucked up when it comes down to it, because the actual engineers and the scientists, electrical engineers, software engineers are the ones doing these advancements, making these technologies, doing the research and everything. So I had the thought, like, it would be so much more beneficial for the scientists and engineers to be treated like NBA players or like NFL players.
Oh yeah, that'd be
like,
neat.
as I'm an engineer working at Microsoft or something, and I have a contract with them to develop this kind of technology because I have a proficiency or like a very extensive background in AI technology. And like other companies would be able to contract me to do that kind of stuff as an engineer or scientist.
Because that way it's easier for the companies themselves to take advantage of these people and make sure that unless they themselves are actively seeking employment elsewhere, it's much easier for them to just kind of herd all these technician smart people for their stuff.
It would allow the people to have way better pay because they would be like scrambling to do these kinds of things, and also it would be more of an ethical reasoning by the companies to contract these employees instead of just like keep them and have them do the same kind of stuff over and over again.
That's like an interesting parallel that you can make with every kind of profession, though. Just yesterday I was watching a TV show with my girlfriend Anaya.
Shout out Anaya.
Yeah, about like it's basically just like a kind of like TV series documentary style of like individual chefs and like how they started and like their full life. But it's interesting that, you know, a chef's dish is, if like you make it in a kitchen under like a head chef, it's going to be that head chef's recipe, even if you make it there.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to be okay with giving up the recipe that you created, just basically for the sake of someone else, because you're working under that person. Everything that you make under their guidance is technically theirs.
Yeah. That's what's kind of shitty about all that stuff. The contracting, the NBA theory would work.
The NBA
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Got the new startups.
There's always like a double-edged sword with that kind of stuff, you know, because like I think on one hand it could work, but there's also like the fact that engineers then are kind of a little bit more expendable. And like it's probably there's going to be a much higher bar for entry in terms of like working for a particular company. You know what I mean? And
that's true.
And there would probably be firms that show up to like actually organize the engineers and like, you know, like send out contracts to different people who are engineers. But
that is one thing I'd like to do. I'd like to open up an engineering contracting service.
I think those exist. I'm pretty sure engineering, because those are just
firms.
Yeah, those are just engineering firms where it's just collectives of engineers who like, you know, do their contracting work for you know, a particular
like having an
business.
agent.
Yeah, because it's like with Apple and stuff, you know, technically, you know, it is like the scientists and researchers' labor for sure, but it's also Apple's like capital and money and their resources. You know what I mean? Because like without Apple, you know, it's like who would have funded that team to do the research? Another company, probably.
Well, that's the contract,
you know what I mean?
though, because they're the ones supplying that contract to say we're gonna pay you this much. We're gonna give we want the rights to whatever you create because we're you know, paying you to do this kind of thing. And I guess it's already like that with jobs in general.
Yeah,
but it allows a lot more leeway and a lot more expertise. It allows for a lot more specialization, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
It also helps the, you know, people get their names out there and stuff because nobody knows. I mean, the engineers and scientists, no one knows like, oh yeah, that's the dude who worked on fucking Siri. Like everyone knows him.
Yeah,
it helps
all
with
the
more
focus
name
on, like,
recognition.
CEOs.
Everyone only cares about finding out who Siri is.
Who is Siri?
It's like the focus is much more on like CEOs, like Steve Jobs.
Yeah, and they don't do
Elon
shit.
Musk and shit.
They don't do anything for their company.
Yeah,
I've grown into I was going to say irrational, but I think it's pretty rational hatred for Elon Musk. Because when I was in high school and he was first starting to make a lot of appearances on talk shows and like in science journals and stuff, like his companies were starting to get a little bit more recognition. I thought it was like, wow, he's so cool. He's like a literal philanthropist, like how, Iron Man is. Like he painted himself to be like a real life Iron Man. But then the more news and the more that people talked about him, everyone found out his past and like how he's basically a trust fund baby who used his family's wealth to buy PayPal. Or I think he started PayPal actually, but then he used that money to buy SpaceX and Tesla.
Yeah.
And
But
it's at the end of the
not
day.
even necessarily the money, but like just being in a family that's super well connected. You know what I mean? Like that incurs like a lot of privilege and shit. But like I definitely get some of the dislike towards him. I think that like like his company does some cool things. You know what I mean? Like I think SpaceX has like a good goal in terms of like getting like reusable rockets and shit, and then potentially pursuing going to Mars or whatever. But obviously that's just going to be like just a marketable adventure for them that they're trying to do. You know what I mean? Like they're going to do some fucking.
I think the companies are great.
Colonies on Mars or some shit.
Elon Musk is just a rich autist.
A rich autist.
I mean, I think he legitimately does have autism.
Yeah,
I think he said that before.
Like without a doubt, but just like it's interesting seeing him exist as a person. I don't necessarily hate him, nor do I have any strong feelings for him, but he's just kind of off doing his own thing. So I kind of don't mind. I don't like the way he interacts with others.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't do himself any
SNL
favors.
Thing?
Yeah.
Did you see him on SNL?
I did. Unfortunately.
So he went on Saturday Night Live or whatever, and he had a few skits, I'm pretty sure, because he was like the guest of the episode or whatever.
They always do like a couple with him.
And there was like one where was he Mario or was it Waluigi?
I think he was Wario.
Wario? Okay.
I think he was Wario. I'm not sure though.
He was Wario. And it was just the most, and he was doing a fucking skit with like his now ex-wife or whatever. But it was just so fucking cringe. It was so
he had like
hard
this
to watch.
super forced Italian accent.
Oh boy. And with Elon's like deadpan expression and voice.
The delivery was so bad.
And then there's a laugh track like, wow, that's so hilarious. And it's just like the worst joke possible and then the hardest laugh track to make people laugh.
It was so bad.
It's funny seeing. I saw him do the interview with the Babylon Bee. Mm-hmm. They had him on like a podcast. I don't know what they branded as, but God, that was such an awkward interview because they're all like huge fans of him. Yeah, and they're like pretty right wing media outlet, and they're talking to him, and he's like, I think you guys are actually pretty moderate. Like I wouldn't say he's. It was just like it was so awkward because he's like pandering to these kinds of people, and he's like, he sent out a tweet a while ago saying like the woke left is like a virus, and it's like, bro, just because people don't like you because of your shitty history, you're like, wow, they're canceling me. I fucking hate them. It's like it's just reparations, bro. Like you can't. If you do shitty things, if you come up in a shitty way, and then you take all the this is what originally had me talking about the NBA theory because he is taking all the credit for what his companies do. And I do like his companies like Tesla. Yeah. I want a Tesla and I am excited to see what SpaceX does in the future. Yeah. And I also think PayPal is like a progenitor of like Cash App, Venmo, all these.
Yeah, all the online banking shit.
Like his companies are actually pretty good, but he's taking the credit for all of them. Yeah. Like what Tesla is doing, he's not actively having a part in it. He's just the person heading the company. And that's, I think, something that people don't understand about a lot of CEOs is they are CEOs just as a public figurehead. Like they don't do that much work in the actual company.
All they're there is because they have the money.
Yeah, they have the money, so they hire like a management team to do all of the actual managing work. Mm-hmm. And he's only there to check in on the factories and be like, yep, you guys are doing good.
More money.
I'm going to go back to my house.
I put the check in the office.
Yeah, exactly. So that had me thinking about the...
NBA.
Yeah, the NBA, NFL type player exchange.
That would be, I still would love to be in that kind of environment, but I don't think I would do well because I think I'm a bad engineer.
Yeah, the lower level is something that I'm not sure how exactly it would work. It'd probably work in the same way that we have the jobs now, where you're just an intern helping someone who maybe was contracted or maybe like an in-house engineer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like in the... Like if you compare it to like the NBA, obviously the top of the top are like always like the people who are getting the jobs, you know, but like who the fuck knows about semi-pro basketball, you know what I mean? Or like your rec team basketball. That's not even that's like an engineer hobbyist, you know, it's like
Well, you could describe
fuck.
yourself as like an in-house engineer, an in-house scientist, research assistant, whatever you want to call
An
it.
in-house NBA player.
Yeah. Well, we don't
No,
call
I
it
know,
like
I
that,
know.
but
Well, to extend on that, like, could you say that the like the engineers and these like people who make a living off of YouTube using the money funded to do more like science bullshit kind of thing, they're like kind of their own brand name kind of thing.
like a freelance
Yeah,
engineer,
essentially they're just kind
freelance
of
YouTube
doing
teacher.
their own research in a way.
Yeah, and that's something that's like a new age thing now too. Is there's a lot of science YouTube channels. I mean, look at Michael Vsauce
Yeah.
True.
doing his own experiments with Minefield and such, like actually doing
Yeah.
visual representations of science experiments.
Yeah. There's a lot of like channels that do that shit now. Like actual like science shit, like showing you.
Oh yeah, all
like,
of them are
see all
super
these like
fucking neat.
random like YouTube videos or they're just super fucking
Have you guys watched Veritasium or
yeah, I've seen some of
Veritasium?
those.
No,
Wasn't
I have
there, like,
not.
drama with its channel
I don't
or
know.
something. Okay.
If it's
yeah.
if it's a science YouTuber drama, I don't care about it.
Well, no, I think it was about the veracity or whatever of like one of his videos or something.
Veracity.
Like the truth of it. Like people
yeah.
had issues with like how he sourced it or something.
I mean, I feel like there's
yeah.
always going to be discrepancies with that kind of stuff because
Turns
if you're
out
talking
runs into
about
that a lot.
yeah, if you're talking about something that's so I guess forward thinking or something that everyone talks about
niche.
yeah, I mean everyone talks about stuff like back in the day where like the geocentric theory was something that was very challenged by a lot of other theories and like the heliocentric theory was something that was like taboo. And it's like, I think getting those ideas out there, if you're looking at evidence and you're coming up with a reasonable conclusion based on that evidence, I think it's okay to make a claim like that. Just back it up.
Yeah.
And if people don't find that it's, valid or something is, or someone's poking holes in it, then you go back and try to redo your theory. That's the entire point of a scientific experiment.
Yeah, it's all just like essentially just peer review the entire way down.
And
Yeah.
YouTube is a great way for that because the comments will be like, you're fucking wrong,
You're
idiot.
dog shit. Everyone know Earth is flat.
Ratio plus L plus your weight.
Ratio plus flat.
Ratio plus geocentric theory rules.
Speaking of white.
Oh, here we go.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
The null thought hot take coming in.
This no thought hot take is brought to you by Amazon.
Yeah, just the alert siren. Null thought hot take.
Spit your hot take. Spit your
No,
truth.
I just wanted to talk about the Twitch cracker drama. 'Cause
Dude,
I thought it was
what?
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, so do you
I
want to
streamed
explain
to
it or
this
do you want me to?
platform.
I don't know much
fucking
about it
Okay,
unless you do.
I know a bit about it because I'm in the Twitch politics scene.
Are they calling cracker a slur or something?
Well, so what happened was there were two mods in a streamer who's named Hassan Piker, who's like one of the biggest streamers on Twitch in general, and probably one of the the biggest like political streamer. Like he does some political content and a lot of reaction, but that's besides the point. So like in his chat, I think two of the mods called someone cracker.
Oh,
or
they were watching
said
MasterChef.
cracker.
Yeah,
they-
I was in that stream when that happened. I didn't even realize what happened because the stream just cut and I was like, what? I was like passively watching
Yeah.
it, so I just didn't even realize. But they were watching MasterChef and there's a guy on there who was he ended up losing, but he was just the most annoying prick imaginable. He was
Okay.
super arrogant.
and they called him a cracker.
Yeah, he was like, so I don't remember exactly what the mod said, but he said something about him being a cracker, like calling him a cracker. And it's like there's a whole debate now of whether or not cracker is like a white slur and everything.
Yeah.
And I think it's just such a dumb argument because slurs in general have a certain historical and contextual meaning that cracker doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I think cracker is a slur, but I think it's like just some slurs are like kind of okay to use. Like, well, I mean, we say like honky, we say redneck.
true,
You know what I mean?
true.
Would you
Those-
say
those are
redneck is a
slurs as
slur
well.
though?
I mean, I think it is a slur.
Okay.
Because it's like it's a pejorative used against white people generally, and but it's like it's just.
I feel like cracker
it
falls
doesn't
in the
have the
line
same-
of it's more of an insult than a slur.
yeah. Well, like would you call any other race of a person a cracker?
If they were acting like a cracker, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't
It's the same reason you would call it, like, you could go up to some dude and it's just like they could have never experienced a redneck lifestyle, but they're fucking redneck. You're a redneck.
Yeah, like
dude.
redneck, I think extends to people all of like the Appalachia region, like a hillbilly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because like, how would you guys define slur then?
Yeah, that's the thing I don't know.
Yeah, that is where it
this situation has challenged me on what I believe is a slur. Because I think obviously like the N-word is the definitive slur. And then there's a lot of other things that are maybe derogatory terms or like mean names for a group of people. But I don't know where you would define slur in that case.
Because like also, if you boil it down to like the historical context or whatever, which the N-word obviously has a lot of, but like if you were to get rid of, like if there was no oppression of black people, let's just imagine a world of that, right? Would you be okay then with white people calling black people the N-word? Like I wouldn't. I think that would probably not
I mean,
be
there's
I feel like if you were to remove all historical context, I don't know. I think it would be
different.
It would be entirely different. I think it would be okay. It just once again, it's always up to context, obviously. But like with no historical background, it's hard to make the claim that any word could be good or bad. It would just be a word in that case. Because if there is no connotation to it, it's just literally by dictionary definition what that word is.
Yeah. I don't know. The way that I would define slur is like it's a derogatory term used against like a group of people that have some immutable characteristic, right?
Yeah.
So like the N-word is a slur because it's a derogatory term because it's against people who are black, right?
Slurs, I feel like would. All right, here's what I'm thinking now. Without any historical context, slurs would only work in like a hyper-ironic society.
I don't know about this.
I feel like we live in a hyper-ironic society.
I feel like we don't.
I think there's some groups that do, and that's the problem. Is like we don't understand like that hyper irony as if we do if we're in that. Okay, so look at a lot of subreddits that have a lot of inside jokes.
OKBR.
Yeah, OKBR I think is a great example.
Stock market bets or Wall Street bets.
Yeah, Wall Street bets, where it's like they use the R word so frequently, and it's like, well, would you count that as a slur? Because it's not necessarily about a race of people, but it's about a marginalized group of people still.
Yeah, I said immutable characteristic. You know what I mean?
I'm just seeing where you extend on this thing.
Yeah, because like I say the R word sometimes, and I don't like that
on
I say
stream all the time.
Yeah. And
you go, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I try not to say it as much as possible.
Well, you're making an effort to do that, which is good.
I think it is a slur. It's just that like the way that we view certain words, like we're okay with them. You know what I mean? Like honky or redneck or cracker.
We're about to get demonetized.
Yeah, probably.
Well, if you're calling somebody a cracker, is it all right if me, a white person, you also a white person, Alex, you can't say it. We're not giving you the C word pass.
Really? I mean, like,
well, we're gonna get demonetized if you call me a cracker.
If we're
only white people can say it now.
Yeah, I can call Anthony. Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
Say
actually,
cracker.
I'm half white, so like I can kind of get away with it. I enjoy the privileges of both sides. I got one foot in both pots.
Would you say that it's all right for me to call you Anthony a cracker, or you to call me a cracker?
Like I don't care if anyone calls me a cracker.
Yeah, I don't care.
I think it's funny sometimes. Although but there's like, because I think there's two parts to it, right? Because like one, on a personal level, cracker does not offend me. You could call me cracker. I think I'll
you
laugh.
also gotta stew some shit with it if you really want cracker to offend me, you know?
But
it's
also,
like you gotta lead with like your mom's gonna die in a ditch, you're a cracker kind of thing, you know?
You sandwich it.
You gotta layer your insults if you're using it as an insult. You can't just call someone a cracker and call it be all end all. That's just poor insultsmanship.
That's another point too, is like when you're calling someone the N-word, it has a very like straight racial meaning to it. Because if you call somebody a cracker, you're usually calling that, well, the definition of cracker is like a racist white person. The origin of the word is in America. The origin of the word in America is that it's supposed to be against racist, white slave owners who were, cracking whips and shit. And like that's the whole idea of it, like the southern region, Appalachia, in America. So it's like if you're calling somebody a cracker, you're not necessarily. That's the part that I have kind of a gray area about because it is technically about white people. It's
Yeah.
technically about like the group of white people.
Here's the
Wait,
thing: we
can I-
haven't built like as a society. We like that connection isn't like widely established, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
There's a lot
know.
of moving parts to this.
So the second part that I had from earlier was just that my thing is that Hassan is like one of the biggest political streamers, like
That's
in
like,
on Twitch.
Say anything
like-
that could be turned politically
Yeah.
on like, especially on Hassan's channel. It instantly you're gonna like catch like massive controversy over that because
he's always under a microscope.
yeah, it's tough.
But like either way, but that's not even really like my point. My point was more so that like the in terms of like building like a political community that is actually like accepting. Like I think like when you kind of forego like certain insults, like you're allowed to say cracker or some shit, or the streamer is calling people crackers or saying crazy shit like that. I think that kind of looks bad. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think it does make people who are like centrists, right? Who are like, who do have some well-meaning opinions. And I know like there's the whole meme about enlightened centrists. They're all usually right-leaning. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't think that's necessarily true. But like there are like legitimate people who are like centrists who like, they'll hear someone like call them a dumb cracker bitch, which is what he called someone in
Yeah.
his fucking channel. I'm pretty sure like right after he got banned or right after he got unbanned. I might be wrong about that.
He wasn't
like,
banned for a while, I think.
He was banned for a week. Yeah.
Yeah, in well, you're talking about before or because of the cracker incident?
Because of the cracker thing.
Yeah, he's banned for I think a week or so.
Yeah, he got banned for saying America deserved 9/11.
Yeah.
Which,
oh my god.
But like that's he
How are
said
you gonna spark controversy over a dude who's like last week was like America deserved?
that
9/11?
wasn't
How?
last week. That was like a year or two ago.
But still, like,
wait,
how is that gonna spark controversy of a dude who's like blatantly just?
Oh yeah,
What
Yeah,
the fuck?
he's edgy, but like he's funny.
With the edge humor, I think it
Yeah.
does go both ways because it's like there's a certain context that you're not, I guess, paying attention to if you're doing something like that.
Yeah, you just lose something. You know what I mean? Which is like just a bit of maybe people you could have convinced otherwise. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm pretty far left politically, but I think that's something where I would draw the line too, because I do want to be accepting of, both sides, despite like a lot of conservative people on the far right
Yeah.
are, way worse.
Yeah.
But it's something that we do have to hold accountable if we do want to have that kind of rule in society.
Yeah, because it's also like the only way to actually convince someone of like other beliefs or opinions is to like be friends with them for a really long time and like actually just share your opinion with them, and maybe they change it organically. You know what I mean?
Or
Like,
maybe you change yours organically.
yeah, exactly. And so like the idea that like a lot of like people have that are, on the left, which I consider myself very left leaning, but like a lot of people have like the opinion of like my family is kind of weird politically, so I'm just gonna fucking cut them all off. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm never gonna talk to them again. And I think that's just, it kind of misses like an opportunity to potentially change things. You know what I mean? Like I know it's difficult to get through to people sometimes, especially older people. Those are
Yeah.
the most annoying. But like sometimes it's not even arguing against the older person, but it's like who's listening? Your younger cousins, your fucking brothers and sisters. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like they might put some stock into your opinion, but your fucking uncle who's been on his deathbed for 3 years probably won't.
Like if you have a moderately rational family, but they might like I have a couple family members of mine who are very like right leaning, but they make sense in why they are right leaning.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily support
Yeah.
all the things behind it, but they get what they need out of it.
They have
And
different
it's like,
interests.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
I understand it. Yeah, no, I totally
Yeah.
get it. It's just
It's,
some people are like actually voting for the right reasons.
yeah, it's just, they're voting for their own interests.
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
and there is whether it's perceived, like even if it's like a true or false, because like obviously there's a lot of people who vote against their own interests for voting for Republicans, but like there's a lot of people who are single issue voters on like things like taxes or gun reform or like abortion. Like those three are all really important to the voter base of like America. Those are like their three most important issues because they're
Yeah.
like obsessed with the economy and like their rights, you know what I mean, in air quotes. But the only way to get through to people is to like kind of forego, like especially like when you're in your own community, it's hard because I don't think Hassan is even necessarily trying to pander to people on the right. You know what I mean? Like if people change his opinion watching a stream, they change their opinion, but that's not necessarily his goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, which is fine. It's just like, I think there's a missed opportunity there being the largest left leaning political streamer. That's my thing.
Yeah. Debate culture, too, is I think what's holding him back the most is because I think he said a while ago that he doesn't like debating people because no one is like really even open to it. Because when you go into debate, and then I've had the same experience where debating people is basically so useless because they are going into the debate thinking I'm going to change this person, while a lot of left-leaning people have the same ideology where like I'm going in to kind of school or game this person.
Yeah, dunk on him.
It's the Ben Shapiro-ism where it's like if you look more powerful, you're going to look more correct, even though you could be spouting things that don't necessarily make any sense or are illogical. Essentially.
See, that's why we got to get engineers into politics. All they do is just debate each other.
Everyone in academia just debates each other. That's all they do.
Pretty much is, yeah. Because it's just like you're disputing theories about like objective truths, and you're like, okay, why? Like, unless you have like a perfect, like solid theory, like it's not a truth. It's just a theory.
Well, that's the thing, too, is there's a lot of truths in politics that people, I don't think,
they
recognize.
just ignore.
So, like, I was going to... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the world as a whole is just like or the world as a whole, like every single, like, political belief is just a bunch of different... It's philosophy all the way down.
Yeah.
So it's like you are trying to debate philosophy on a global scale rather than like, oh, in Athens, Greece, where, you know, you only have to worry about this shit. You have everyone's ideologies clashing against each other. And unless you have like a genuine, true to form debate about it, we'll never like, we will never get close to having an idealized
society, like objective morality.
Well, I think
objective morality, there's like laws, everything that we view as right. It's hard to get everything together if you're not sharing all your fucking sources.
Well, the problem is that politics is like the it's sort of all it is about the distribution of power, right? Like the organization of power and like who can get it and who can keep it. You know what I mean? And so like it isn't necessarily, like, it is philosophy in the background. Philosophy is doing a lot of the work, but like in order to actually engage that philosophy and put it into action, you need to do like so much legwork in terms of like rhetoric and like, you know, sharing the right information. You know what I mean? Like
everyone's still in the testing phase too. This is going to take like fucking thousands of years if we live through it. But
if we make it out, everyone's just got to do acid. That's
even like America itself is like super young as a fucking country. Like we are fucking children on the global scale.
Yeah, that is
so. It's like we're gonna need at least a little while to figure our shit out.
Yeah, and and we're just in a really turbulent time because we have like so many outside actors like trying to influence our shit, and we have like people inside the country who are just like grifting hardcore, just like trying to get money out of people, just milking them for, you know, whatever. It's
political science is a science by definition, right? So like all other sciences, I feel like at some point there's going to be a truth to what we're doing. And the more that we study
theory,
it's hard. Yeah, it's not really like, it's called political science, but like there's not like, what can you test in like a political space? You know what I mean? Because like
what's
well, I mean, we are testing in a political
well, no, what I'm
space.
saying is like
it's hard to employ their theories.
That's what I'm saying. There's theory. It's a lot of theory. Because like in terms of running experiments, you know what I mean? Like you can't really like, how do you do, like there's a lot of case studies that go on. No, there's a lot of case studies that go on, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's just like the limited research that we're able to do.
Remember when we took over Hawaii?
Oh yeah,
just, you know, we just changed their political structure. Japan, how we changed their entire political structure.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with political science?
I'm just saying, those are the experiments being made.
But it's not like they're not. That wasn't done by a team of researchers. That was done for imperialist purposes.
It was done by people who were testing,
who wanted
politics.
Power.
Yeah,
no, they weren't testing politics. They wanted power. I mean, they wanted control of a region.
I feel like I'm going to take the centrist stand on this because I do stand on the side that I think it's an actual political science, like it is a science, but it's something that we can't necessarily test with moral reasoning.
Well, it just depends on like what you mean by science, because science by definition is like the scientific method and like
Yeah.
the way that we observe, and you run controls and you do like a full
Think about
experiment.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that you can't do something like that, but think about psychology, because that's probably the closest adjacent science to, I guess, political science by nature.
Kind of, it's definitely similar because you can apply a lot of psychological phenomena on like a sociological scale.
Yeah. There's a lot of theories, like meta theories, about the idea of psychology, where if it's unethical or it's immoral, you get a lot more data.
Yeah,
which is like all the fucked up shit that Russia and the USA were doing in the Cold War.
MK Ultra.
Yeah, shit like that. Where it's we got a lot out of it, but it was super fucked up.
Yeah, it's very unethical. Yeah.
So that's something that political science would take the stage on, where testing a government system on a bunch of people could potentially leave a lot of people fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And we can only essentially look at history of political structures and how it's affected the people to try to improve it somewhat.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at history, but also you can lobby based on research. Because like the thing is that because like political theory is often based in like some sort of science going on in the background, whether it's psychology or it's economic or it's whatever.
Sociology as well, probably.
Sociology, because they run sociological experiments.
It's just a social experiment, bro. I'm sorry I took over your country and destroyed all your farms.
Sorry,
it's just a prank. It's just a prank.
It's just a prank. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to starve 1.2 million people.
Oops.
Yeah. So yes, in that regard, it's quite literally hard to test. But I don't know. It's something that I think. Well, do you guys believe in objective morality? I think you asked me this a long time ago, Anthony. I've thought about it a lot since then.
I feel like there are very few objective truths in general.
I would say, there's like a couple that just make the most sense and cover the broadest scheme.
Well, like what's an objective truth?
It's something
like an example of one.
It's something that is true no matter what.
I'm saying an example of one.
like in what sense?
Like a moral truth, I guess.
Like an objective moral truth.
I would say don't kill people is probably.
But what about like self-defense?
The objective moral truth is that
I think within reason is also a good context to a lot of things too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of different parts going on that they're not going to be like commandment 1.
Yeah.
Don't kill people.
Yeah. The objective moral truths are going to be like a 10-page paper of like one truth. Like it's probably going to be
like a philosophy paper.
I
don't know. In my opinion, I think that I think there's like two parts, right? There's like there's morality, and then there's like truth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, I'm away from the mic. There's morality and there's truth. I think that there is some objective truth out there in terms of like the truth of like history, like what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is an objective reality that we all exist within. However, I don't think any single individual can ever observe it and understand it holistically.
Oh yeah, we can get close.
Maybe. We don't even know that necessarily.
Oh, true.
Well, I think the successful truth of like a objective morality would be if a majority of the society is okay with understanding that.
Yeah, but that also doesn't include as society changes over time as well. So you need like an objective morality function,
It's a logistic function, yeah.
Well, think about how we do science today. It's like I would say that's kind of an objective morality where the science in general is supposed to improve society at any capacity.
I don't know.
So it's like,
I thought Alex had more of a apt definition of science, which was trying to find the truth of like things. Like, because like science doesn't really apply morality, right? There's no, like there's ethical.
I'm talking about in like a societal standpoint. Science in a vacuum is just to find the truth, but it's how we interpret that science.
Society
how we
uses science for scientific findings.
Yes.
In my fucking engineering philosophy class, that was a topic that was talked about. It's like how what you can develop technology for a purpose, but the moment it reaches, you have to disconnect the public from technology because the technology will always be misused and used in a variety of ways you've never accounted for once it's released publicly, because then there are a bunch of different minds working on it. It's no longer just this is done by a small team compared to this is technology used on a global scale. So we have to separate both the ethical responsibilities and the ethical responsibilities of the technology creators and the ethical responsibilities of the technology users.
Well, think about like weapon technology. If we developed a space laser that could instantly
I
vaporize
legitimately wrote
one
a whole
person.
paper. That was my final paper on.
Oh my God. See, that's the thing though, is like, what is that doing for humanity?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The way I viewed philosophy, because I chose the topic because it's just really broad. And then I thought to myself, I'm going to pick the one that I wouldn't pick. And then I'll research the other side, see what it's all about. So I did weapons research and I went in development for it. And the stance I ended up taking on it was that using weapons development as a means of furthering other pursuits, basically creating a failsafe for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So the thing that we've developed now is like we have nuclear technology. How do we disable nuclear technology without, all we know right now is just blow it up somewhere we don't fucking want it.
Yeah.
That's all we have as a countermeasure. But if nuclear weapons research were to continue being developed, then that's when you start to be able to think of new fail safes for that specific thing. And by extension of that, your research into nuclear technology will help a lot of, say, nuclear power generators or, a better defense grid or something, which by rights, realistically, we shouldn't need a defense grid in like a perfect world. But it's just technologies like those that we create. They have like little branching paths of
It's trickle down
benefits.
science.
It really is.
Well, think about how much NASA has contributed to society, even though their goal is something that isn't weapon related.
Yeah.
I mean, their technology has been used in weaponry,
However,
like weapon technology.
one thing to consider though is that their purpose was for like geopolitical power, right? Like to beat Russia in the space race.
Their original
You know what I mean?
purpose. But I think nowadays they have a much
It is more
different-
of just like a research arm of like the government. I definitely agree with that.
So I think you can do weapons research without having like, I think just in general, it's immoral. Like we already have weapons that can kill people basically like that, like a bullet to the head. That's all you need.
True. The thing is, though, is that we continue weapons development nowadays is that so that way we minimize the risk to ourselves while maximizing the lethality for others,
Because you also have to think about it like on a global scale. Like if there is because right now, there's a lot of like tensions rising between us and Russia or whatever, right? If Russia understood or knew like the kind of development that was happening in terms of like weapon research, it might change their mind in terms of how they engage with Ukraine. You know what I mean? Like if we're working on some crazy shit, they might be like, okay, we're gonna be a little chill.
That's
here.
the whole point of having military secrets, though. It's like you don't tell them, so that way they're assuming you have worse.
Yeah. Well, I think because there is an amount of information that is released to the public that they have. So it's like you
start sowing seeds of fear.
Yeah,
it's all just
exactly.
like a fear tactic.
I guess I'm thinking too far into the future then, because with a conflict between countries and nations like this, there's always going to be a need for protection. But in reality, it's like if we don't have, we create our own threats essentially.
We do.
So
yes.
it's just a negative feedback loop where we keep shelling more and more money to the military because we keep fucking starting shit.
That was a problem I kept running into the paper too, because it's like at the end of it, as long as we create new things to defeat the old things, then we create enough technology to create an even fucking worse thing.
Yeah.
So it's just like a constant like progression of we solved the problems of the past, but now we've created new ones. And it's a hard thing to face when writing a paper like that, because I felt like I had no like end result. It's just like it
just keeps going.
There's a name for that in political science. It's called the security dilemma, which means that like as one country in like some like if you have two countries that are in some adversarial position against one another, for instance, like America and Russia or America and China, right? If you have one country that builds up some of its security forces or other forces like in allied nations, you're going to see a similar buildup and a similar investment in resources into their military in the other countries.
Like the
as
arms
well.
race.
Yeah, it's just a never-ending arms race. It doesn't end. It doesn't like boil down unless something
just
big
keeps
happens.
escalating.
Unless something big happens, like a war or a very close conflict with some like world-ending shit, like the Cuban Missile Crisis. You know what I mean? Like that kind of calmed things down a little bit. We just went into proxy warfare instead. You know, but
we
like
should just stick to proxy warfare. Honestly,
but it's just
if we have to.
Yeah. if we've got to fight,
We can like go take over some like islands and shit, go pit our dudes, like just Make a
No.
a worldwide gladiatorial pit.
If we actually did like take some islands like near Russia, they would do some crazy shit. If we actually
No,
did that.
like have everyone agree that we like make the pit.
Oh.
You know, the
Like,
pit.
gladiator
You
pit.
Like,
go
we're
fight in like
settling-
Antarctica
yeah.
or some shit. It's like, oh, yo, the pit's being hosted in Antarctica this year.
Dude, that'd probably just accelerate global warming.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Bring the Rome Colosseum back.
Yeah.
Yeah, the global coliseum. I think it
That'd
would
be kinda
work.
sick.
It would keep all of our aggression down.
It's
We'd
just-
be
and it's
less
just like-
interested
and
in
we could
fighting
do
each other, and
non-lethal
we
fights.
just we like the fucking Japan versus America giant robot fight that never happened.
I don't know about that.
That was a fucking weird one. I'll admit. Japan releases a thing. It's like we're working on a giant robot, and they like. America did their own giant robot thing and challenged Japan.
Is that
And then
real?
there was an official match planned. Yeah, it was real. I
Oh
was
my
hyped
God.
about it
That's
when it was first
insane.
announced.
Wait, what? Oh, that's recently? I thought you were talking about like World War II.
No,
Like, they
it
were
was
playing,
like-
How would
literally
they do
going.
that in World
It
War
was-
that's what I was like, no way.
It
It was
no
like
way.
within the past 10 years, I'm pretty sure. But
Is it a conflict thing or just like a let's
it
see
was
what
like
we can fucking
it was
do?
just like a fun little sportsmanship match, I believe. But
Yeah. I mean, ideally, I think like the world is heading in a better place, hopefully.
I feel like
I think
conflict
there's-
should be resolved through sports, like how anime
maybe.
doesn't.
I think there's like waves that like the world goes through where there's like stability, and then instability. And I don't know if it's like an increasing oscillation or decreasing. Hopefully it's decreasing. It's just
Probably
like
rising as it goes up, dude.
I would say
Yeah.
the more complicated the problems, the harder it is to solve. So it takes
I think
more
that's
time
true.
to solve that.
Yeah. But it's like as well, I think with the like international structures that we have and the communication methods that we have as well, like it kind of changes the landscape a little bit. I think when we were
Yeah,
all
we might learn
communicating,
stuff faster.
via telegram and shit, you know, like that I could understand like people being way less accepting or way less wanting to cooperate with other countries. But like now that people are so interconnected, like globally, I think it's kind of pushing us more into a world where that sort of like actual global society, global cooperation hopefully happens.
China's just got to open up the internet,
Yeah.
and then we'll be good.
Dude, China's huge. Yeah, they should.
With the whole internet ideal in today's society, I think the younger generation is going to keep being smarter and smarter. Like we're going to
Hopefully,
have easier ways to learn.
I
a lot
hope
of
so.
things.
Yeah.
I learned multiplication, I think, in third grade. I think my mom taught me beforehand with like flashcards or whatever, just as basic math proficiency. But in terms of schooling, they're learning multiplication in like first grade now. And I'm like,
Really?
what?
Yeah, dude, those Roblox video game developers.
Those Roblox video.
Yeah, no, but those kids on Roblox who like they're literally learning coding as a basically as a hobby. Like that's
Yeah.
fucking crazy. My voice cracked there.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Beta.
Pre-pube.
Preview.
When I started playing Minecraft, I got into like custom maps and shit, and then the command blocks came out, and that was like
Oh,
my
yeah.
first experience coding in Java. And I had no idea what I was fucking doing. I was just typing shit that YouTubers told me to type in to do this.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, how do I do this with command block? And it'll be like, it's literally the most simple shit now
Yeah.
to me. But back then, as a 14-year-old, I was like,
Whoa.
I'm like, whoa! I mean, even working with pistons and like redstone is really cool because it's you can make a lot of simple logic gates.
Yeah, that's fucking insane. I only recently started working with redstone in Minecraft.
It's pretty cool.
It's
and like,
kind of fucking neat.
Dude, I feel like the internet has just been such a good source for like making like this is why like a lot I think I've had this conversation
Like-
with maybe you previously where it was like, is the internet overall good or bad for society?
Oh yeah,
And,
I feel like I've
yeah,
had that conversation
and I
with you.
feel like a big reason why it's so fucking good is that it just gives people a platform to be able to do some of the craziest shit.
Oh
ever.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like obviously you have scumbags and morons, but you also have like people like Vsauce, like Veritasium, like Kurzgesagt, who like do all this crazy cool shit and make awesome videos. And even just like I don't know if humanity if we measure potential, you know, across like all of humanity's existence. If it's gotten bigger,
I feel like
as
we just
the-
uncapped
or-
ourselves.
yeah.
We're like at the next level. Like
Yeah,
we can
like-
now go to see weird shit.
The access of information is so much greater now.
Yeah, like there were a lot of savants in the past, you know, like the Mozarts, Beethovens, fucking Galileos, all those
Imagine
people,
if they had the
like,
fucking
yeah.
internet and they're like, "Yo, dude, check
Yeah.
this shit out."
Yeah,
Instead of sending
Galileo
not
was
even that-
talking.
yeah.
Instead of
fucking-
sending them like an email or like sending like
Messenger
snail mail to
pigeon.
someone, it's like, oh, find out they died halfway through you before your letter got to them. Like, fuck.
Yeah. Today's generation, I mean, I think that's true for literally every generation
Yeah.
of people, but they're just getting smarter and smarter. And I think, like Alex said, with the internet, it's now uncapped. Like, we
Yeah.
basically have, I mean, we have entire journal papers. Like, we can see what scientists are researching and talking about right now on
Yeah.
like Google Scholar.
And even if you don't, because like a lot of people, you know, when you go on like a website, that's like the publishing site. You can literally email that professor or whatever and like ask them for their paper and they will fucking send you the PDF.
Yeah, you can just be like, hey,
Yeah.
I want to research this a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Can I see your paper? And they'll be like,
Yeah.
yes.
Can I have the rights to your paper? Can I publish it as my own?
Some professors might be anal about that, but
Yeah, I
I've had
remember
some
seeing
good
this Twitter
experiences.
post of this guy, like saying that his teacher told him that like he couldn't refer to the person like on a first name basis, so he sent an email to
Oh,
the
yeah.
actual person of the
Oh,
paper. Was
yeah,
like,
I've
"Yo,
seen
can
that.
I use your first name?" He's like, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
they're
I'm your
they're
best
people
friend.
too, and it's
Yeah.
fucking sick.
Also, if you're getting I would do that if I was getting
Yeah.
recognized for my work. Someone's
Like,
like,
why
hey, I want to use your work for something. I'd be like, yo, that's dope.
Yeah.
You can call me
Dude,
by my
fucking
middle name if you
take
want.
it,
Yeah.
dude. That'd be neat.
It's definitely true. Because that's all their job is to like fucking talk about the shit that they're researching and like continue to debate it and argue it.
And no one would have a job for that long in that field unless you at least somewhat liked it.
Yeah.
And that's it kind of leads back into the objective morality thing too, because the further that the more people that understand like higher scientific context, like I think, you know, back in the 50s when we were first discovering electricity and shit, no one knew how that shit worked on the daily basis. But
Oh,
now,
no.
like the physics behind electricity and magnetism are taught in high school.
Yeah.
Whether or not
It's
you
insane.
attain that is, you know, up to you, but at least you've learned it at one point.
Yeah, you have some basis of understanding, like, you know, that it's all electricity.
Yeah. And going through like a college major, they teach you the fundamentals of all of it. And it's really interesting that, you know, going through it at such a steady pace, like a 4-year degree, it's like you're learning about these things almost in real time because you're seeing new technologies come out. Like for
true.
me, like new processors for like computer engineers. There's like a new graphics card or a new way to store data and stuff. Software engineering is like going off right now because there's kind of a limit in how fast we can actually process the data. But it's like with that kind of ideology, we're getting to a point
Yeah.
where the majority of the public knows about these things, where it's kind of just common law that you know how a computer works, like the ones and zeros. Whether or not you understand it to a great detail, you know, is still up to you. But you're learning about these things, and at least you can apply them to other things. Like you can apply how electricity works to computers and like how it makes it think, and then you can apply how computers work to basically anything. You can, I guess, smartify in quotes almost every piece of technology. I mean, look at smart homes now.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where that goes because I'm worried that it just might lead to like heavy specialization. Because if things are like, because I saw an interesting post on Reddit that was talking about like how a lot of people think like IT is like an undying field because like you're always going to need people who are, you know, working on
As long
technology.
as those
and
IT
shit.
people keep getting educated, yeah.
But there was a really interesting post by this guy who owned like an IT firm, and he said that something people don't realize is that like a lot of these companies who have like massive IT firms, like big networking companies and shit like that, they're actually like they're making the technology like so easy to use, like they're smartifying it. You know what I mean? That to where like you can just have you won't need to put as much resources into an IT team to manage your network and your storage and everything like that, because a lot of that is being dumbed down in a lot of ways. And like, you know, smartifying it is dumbing it down. You know what I mean? Like in a lot of ways, because it just makes it a lot easier to use for the what's it called, for the user. You know what I mean? So I wonder how that turns out for like a lot of people, because if you're
that's a
not
good
in
point.
like a tech or engineering field, you know, will you not know much about it, even though you are learning it in high school? But a lot of people.
Well,
forget
that goes back
shit.
to what Alex and I were talking about earlier, where like the actual information that we're learning is becoming more simplified in
Yeah.
a way that we can understand it earlier and earlier.
Yeah,
like
true.
how, like the Roblox characters and the Minecraft programming, where like a lot of these things are being taught to people at such a young age, and they're being exposed to it at such a young age. Where like a lot of the older people may not understand how a smart home would work. The person who is getting involved with that, because honestly, a smart home. It's not super hard to understand. It's just a bunch of sensors that kind of communicate with each other over Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you don't need to know like how is the fucking chip
Yeah,
manufactured.
you don't need to know anything about how the Wi-Fi is transmitting the data. Most of your problems too in like an IT field are just going to be like with the hardware fucking up itself, or like software inside.
Just restart it, bro.
That just botched.
Yeah.
The
All right.
oh, what?
I was going to say, all right, that's the end.
Okay.
Just ended last night. I went to bed and I tried listening to a Valorant stream, and like I just was that was the most stressful sleep I've ever had. I should never listen to Valorant whenever you sleep, ever. It's bad.
Just rage inducing.
Yeah,
Takes
just
you back
stop.
to the trenches.
All right. See y'all later.
Bye.